Once upon a time, there was a king who loved beauty and fine clothes. It was said that he changed clothes every hour. It was also rumored that he spent all his money making clothes, which always made me laugh. Because the king changed his clothes more than 10 times a day, his wardrobe was enormous, overflowing like a mountain. The tailors in the castle were confused about what kind of clothing to make. The king always told them to make new styles, and they obeyed. One day, 2 weavers came to meet the king. The cloth they wove was something no one could imagine. The texture, color, and patterns of the cloth never changed, they were just incredibly beautiful. The fabric was so fine that you couldn't feel it. That was indeed an incredible piece of cloth. The incredible part was that some people couldn't see it. When asked who, the weavers said people who were unfit for their jobs or excessively stupid. So, such people were unable to see the clothes they made. The king found this idea. However, the king was aware that this would require a lot of money. But he assured the weavers that money was no concern. They could take any amount they wanted, and in this way, the weavers became quite rich. After getting a lot of gold coins and high-quality silk from the king, the 2 men pocketed them. On the loom, there was no thread. They just kept turning the loom with their bodies, tirelessly pretending to be weaving. These 2 men were defrauders, aiming only to get a lot of money from the king. The 2 looked like they were working late into the night. Everyone was speculating about what kind of garment they were making. Day after day, the rumors about this fantastic garment were flying around the town. Who's a fool? Who's smart? The ministers in the palace were also speculating about who could and who couldn't do their jobs. The king, more anxious than anyone else, wanted to know about the progress of the garment. He decided to send a minister to check on the situation. But he feared, what if he himself couldn't see the fabric? Thus, he sent a minister whom he trusted. However, the fact was that the minister, when confronted by the empty loom, couldn't see anything. But the 2 swindlers persuaded him to believe it was beautiful, insisting that the color was fantastic and the patterns exquisite. The minister feared that he was a fool, unfit for his job. If others found out, especially the king, he would be doomed. So he went back to the king and sang praises about the garment, and asked for more high-quality silk and more money for the swindlers because they had been working sleeplessly. The weavers greedily kept everything brought to them and continued their pretend weaving. Meanwhile, the king heard from the minister that the garment was the most beautiful in the world. He was eager to see it but also afraid that he might fail. In the end, the desire to see the garment overpowered his fear. Even though the loom remained empty and no one could see the cloth, the ministers who hadn't seen the fabric acted as if they did. Surprising it was that the king himself couldn't see anything, but he had no choice but to pretend he could. When asked his opinion, he expressed how impressed he was by its color and pattern. He rustled his hands in the air as if touching the delicate fabric. Time passed, and the magnificent garment was finally finished. The swindlers, having received medals and noble titles from the king, were making final touches to the garment, pretending to be doing the last bits of sewing. They claimed that the garment was as light as a feather and the king wouldn't feel a thing while wearing it. This was what made the garment unique and valuable. The king tried it on and looked at himself. The ministers applauded and admired the garment, saying it fit him perfectly. The king had doubts, but he dismissed them because he still wanted to be the king. After a while, the time came for the grand parade. Everyone in the town came out to see the miraculous garment. They had heard the rumors and did not want to be seen as fools or incompetents. So they acted like they could see the king's clothes, even though the king was, in fact, naked. The king, hearing the people's compliments, was extremely happy, until a child, out of innocence, said the king was not wearing any clothes. Soon, everyone realized the truth, but the king, although feeling humiliated, chose to carry on with the parade in his invisible suit. As for the two swindlers, they ran away from the palace with the gold they had defrauded but accidentally dropped it into a river. So they decided to go back to the castle again to cheat more. But people like them would be caught someday. The story ends with the naive king.